Welcome to episode 8 of Banter Bit with your hosts Androva and RushkaGG.
Good
Always
evening,
find it
guys.
weird to call myself RushkaGG because I'm just Rushka, but that's my gamer tag. Like with you, it's Androva Zede, but like I
Yeah,
also know you as Androva, so it's always awkward for me. But anyway, we're happy to be back. Well, I'm happy to be back. Are you happy to be back?
I'm happy to be back. Sorry, we've been on an extended break, guys, but life's been lifing, and I guess we've been doing exciting stuff as well. Rushka hosted an invitational again, her annual Women's Day or Women's Month invitational. I actually want to talk about that, Rushka, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. This wasn't the annual one, so the annual one happens in March.
Okay, lied.
International Women's Day. And then I usually do something more community based around August September side. So I guess this was my annual community based thing, which happened to be during South African Women's Month, and that sort of inspired me to do something around the two charities, the Sarki Bartman Center for Women and Children and Rape Crisis, um, where we invited 40 streamers to play around a bunch of rounds of Hunt together. I think I've mentioned this before, but you invite 40 people thinking that, only 20 are going to attend because people are busy and they have lives and stuff. The fact that like 38 said yes. And obviously there were people that couldn't make it on the day, so it would end up being like 35 on the Saturday. Still pretty amazing. Like it's a big number. It's a big amount of people to do
For sure.
one little get together on one day. Meant a lot to me, and yeah, I think everyone had fun. The feedback that I got in general was that they want to do it again, and it was a lot of fun, which makes me happy. The fact that people got to raise funds for charity and just have a good time overall, because that's obviously one thing as an event organizer that you worry about, is making sure that everyone's happy
Yeah,
while reaching the goal.
yeah.
um, so that to me was the success of the event, was reaching the donor goal of almost reaching the donor goal. It was 50,000. I think it was to be made like 48 or something.
Yeah, we were very, very
Um,
close.
yeah.
Well, I can tell
Um,
you on behalf of myself and a lot of other streamers who were involved, we definitely had a good time, and the event was a breath of fresh air, because I think a lot of the time when we have stream invitationals or fundraising events, whatever it is, a lot of the time the games that people use to like accelerate these events are very mainstream competitive games, your Apex, your Valorant, your Overwatch, which is not to say we don't like to see that, but it was very nice to try something different that not a lot of us had experience in, and where the skill ceiling wasn't so intense as well. Like, I didn't go into that event as a person who hadn't played an extensive amount of Hunt before and say, oh damn, like I'm just here for the lols because I know I'm not going to get kills or whatever it is. Like, I'm not going to be able to participate in my full. And I think you really, really brought the community together. And it's sad because I think it's kind of like it's died down a little bit now. But I played in the build up to the event. I played Hunt with a lot of streamers I hadn't played games before. Nick and I were talking about it. Nicholas Van Jay and myself were talking about it, saying we have known each other for about 2 years now. We've spoken to each other like in real life, all of that, but we'd never actually interacted on stream in a gaming space together. And Hunt let us do that and let us continue doing that afterwards as well.
it makes me so happy to hear.
No, for real. Like, I want to say I like reinforced some good relationships during that event. I think we all had fun. Like, just I went back to look at some people's VODs and everything, and the use of proximity chat in the game was so it was such a fun one. And I mean, even with the like limitation that Hunt couldn't create custom lobbies or whatever it is, we still made it work. When we'd found our other South Africans, our other friends, we were very excited, and it was like a witch hunt. It's like, oh, who am I going to find next? Who's coming after me? Who am I going to teabag when I kill them, or vice versa? And it brought that really fun side of competitiveness together, and I think it also reminded me why I enjoy playing games. And it's not just for the game itself, it's for the people I chat with, the friends I make, and all the interactions, those little interactions you have within the game as well. So definitely
That
like,
makes me so happy. That makes me so happy to hear. I didn't get to
yeah.
experience any of that because I was stressed out of my mind, like, running the event itself. And I unfortunately didn't get a chance to look at any of the pods because then I was dealing with after event admin and
Mm,
that. But I'm really glad to hear that actually.
well, just know, I think when you do this next year around again, you're definitely going to have a bigger uptake. And you're going to have
Mm,
people extremely keen to join in. And I think even more so the fact that it's for a good cause. I think we very often are always streaming, I don't want to say for selfish reasons, but we
mm,
are streaming like for ourselves and our communities, whereas an event like this brings us together, brings the greater community together. And there's a lot of mingling, mixing of communities. You learn more about other people, their communities, and it's a
mm,
good way to help us collectively grow.
mm. Just on that, like, I just want to touch on why it's so important for content creators, gaming content creators themselves to run events,
Mm,
and why we as streamers and gamers are the perfect people to run events is because we know the community, we know what
yeah,
games are relevant,
yeah.
um, or relevant enough to make a success. When you get like
Mm,
an org or something and trying to do it, if they're not getting a bunch of gamers on board with consulting and that, then they're not going to make the streamers happy.
yeah.
I've been in a lot of these tourneys and events and stuff where they just miss the mark on something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so basically, what I'm saying is, I'm hoping to see more content creators and more streamers run more events on their own, because you are the most. What's the opposite of out of touch? You are the most in touch when it comes to what people want, what your viewers want,
Yes.
what other creators want.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I
I hope
think,
people use me as a little use case as to why they should absolutely do it as well.
yeah. And I mean, the two of us have been talking about this a lot lately regarding like some IRL events, some other tournaments, invitationals, etc., and saying that we get very frustrated when the brands up at the top organizing these events don't come to us and ask for our input, and they just use us as like money mules or whatever it is, where it's you're the
Mm,
focal point, you're what's bringing the crowds, that's all you need to be. And it's no, we actually have a lot more to offer. On top of like what you said, we know what people want to see. Like, not to say the
mm,
brands don't necessarily know, but we're on the ground, we're talking to these people daily, we're interacting with them
mm-hmm,
daily. We know what they like to see, what they don't like to see, what they're tired of seeing.
yeah.
Use that, man. Like, the success of events is the success of an event can only go so far when you're saying, boom, we're bringing these streamers to do this thing. Because if we're not enjoying it, if we're like having our own little fights amongst it, if there's already like a bad air amongst us around it, it's very difficult for us to then pour our hearts into it and say we're 100% like behind this.
Yeah.
And our communities can see that. It's the same thing as when we're talking about like doing campaigns and stuff, and knowing when you're connecting with the brand you're doing a campaign with, or if you're just selling out because there's a price tag behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Our communities can tell as well. They can tell, like, are you having fun during this event? Are you enjoying yourself? Their enjoyment comes from our enjoyment, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something we keep shouting from the rooftops. Like, involve us. We want to give input. We want to help you make this a successful event. And it seems like the more we say it, the more it's being ignored. And it's like at some point we're gonna want to stop like participating in these events, because it's just another run of the mill. Oh, this team versus that team. Oh, things might be unbalanced. Oh, we're doing this game all over
Mm-hmm.
again, etc., etc. And this isn't to throw shade where there's none to be thrown. I mean, this episode is probably going to be released a week or two after the Valorant ZA Invitational, and that's completely different. Like, there was a purpose behind that. The
It was
organizers
a lot of
behind it
fun.
knew what they were doing. They did it really
Mm-hmm.
well. I think everybody who participated can say they had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some other events ongoing and that have happened in the past and that are coming up where we're going to see the same different day. And
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do it because we've been asked to, but, are we going to enjoy it?
We're doing something out of obligation or whatever. Whereas with the Valorant Invitational, I genuinely wanted to join because there was already this hype around the launch of the Valorant servers in South
Yeah.
Africa and that. And then obviously with a tag like ACGL, because I've only ever had good experiences with them, so I really trust this
Same.
org to, run a good event. And then just the overall wholesomeness of like my
Mm,
teammates and other creators that were involved. It was just overall a good experience for me as a
yeah.
new Valorant player.
And we do want to come out of these events with these good memories, these good feelings, because then it compounds and it snowballs onto the next one, you know. And yeah, I guess that's our little 2 cents on it here.
So just on that, like the exploitation of content creators and streamers, and that was one of my biggest worries also with the ACGL showdown, was that I didn't want people to feel used and exploited or
Mm,
anything, which
mm,
is why when I invited them, I was like, listen, it's only 2 hours
yeah.
for the charity, and then you have no other further obligation. In exchange, I can't pay you, unfortunately. I don't have the money for that. But in exchange, Crytek has given us some game keys and DLCs, so you can keep it for yourself or give it away. And we'll obviously promote the crap out of you. If you're posting things on socials, we'll retweet and boost your tweets and stuff.
Mm.
That's what I can offer you.
No, I'll say,
Um,
Rushka, as a standalone creator, you manage to pull a lot more strings than we've seen brands do when they have whole budgets to throw at these things. You single-handedly got in touch with Crytek. You know, they were obviously more than happy to collaborate with you, but you also just put so much good work into it. Like, you made a good setup, you made sure everybody understood, you know, things were organized well in advance, and things were, you've done it before, obviously, we could tell, you know, it wasn't your first event, it wasn't a trial run for anything. Things went smoothly. At the end of the day, we also look at it and say, this is a charity event, we're not expecting to be paid for it. But there are instances where, as you say, we do get exploited for such events. But to be continued another day, I think, unless you
oh
have
yeah,
what to
absolutely.
say.
We should make a note of this and actually go into more detail about like events and
Yeah,
content creators and the experiences from it and that,
yeah.
and just where we think it can go better and that.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Moving on, but still on the, I think, community side of things, we want to touch back on an event that happened in the Twitter sphere, and that is kind of still rolling on today to some extent, with people, I guess, being catty in the community, gatekeeping, whatever you want to call it, people complaining about the circle jerk of certain creators, ourselves included, who constantly, I don't know, are blowing air up each other's asses or whatever they want to say. But problematic creators within the space, actually. People who have this very self-righteous idea that they're not getting recognition where it should be deserved, but actually in the background, you know, I think there's people that need to do some introspection. Are you working as hard as the people you're pointing fingers at? There's been an influx on Twitter over the last little while of people complaining about certain creators doing jobs and getting jobs that they shouldn't be there for because there's someone more suited to it. Or why are we hearing the same person over and over again? Where's the variety? And I think it's an important point to make in some cases, but in a lot of these cases, the people who are finger pointing, I don't know if they have a leg to stand on, to put it that way.
Yeah, I've yet to see anyone who's made those types of comments actually do anything relevant over the past year.
Yeah. No, let's put it at
further.
that. 365 days. What have you done in the last year that you think deserves recognition and do you think is better than these people you're pointing fingers at? Because, okay, I think we're being quite kind of vague about it, but Rushka and Julia Bish Robson, yeah. Rushka and Julia Bish Robson on, was it Friday morning last week? Thursday morning, we're invited to the Expresso show. If you on South African TV at all, you know the Expresso show runs at like 6 a.m. on SABC2, I think. And Grant Hines, one of our community faves, he's a forerunner of gaming in South Africa, has been in the industry for about 15 years now. And I'm sure is one of the people that's paved the way for it to be what it is today. He runs a gaming segment on Expresso. And every now and then when there's something exciting, like the Valorant Invitational happening or Rushka's Fems and Thems from last year, they get screen time, or Grant gets screen time to highlight this event and put a public eye on it. Because we know, like, when these kind of events happen, it's the community only that hears about it. And if we want to grow this community, we do need to stretch out into the public space. Because there are people out there who don't necessarily know a whole lot, or who are completely unaware but interested in these kind of events. So Bish and Rushka were invited to Expresso to talk about the Valorant ZA Invitational, and the fact that South Africa finally has Valorant servers. Oh my gosh, big whoop in all senses of it.
Yep.
And Carrie First and ACGL hosted this invitational this weekend, and Bish and Rushka were just invited to let the public essentially know a little bit more about it and just spotlight it. And literally a few hours after the show, there were already a bunch of ingrains going onto Twitter and saying, why were those two up there? Why couldn't we get a pro from the scene or someone who actually knows about this game talking about it? And from my point of view, I understand sometimes people saying, oh, we should get a pro in to talk about it, etc. But we also need to look at the circumstances around this. As with most productions, you know that you're going to appear on screen a day or two before. You get called up quickly and they say, hey, we want to feature you quickly, you know. Are you available? Yes or no? Cool. A lot of the time, most of us, if we feel like we're not qualified, we're going to send a message and say, hey, sorry, I don't feel like I'm best for this, but here's so-and-so person. If they can get hold of them, they will. If they can't, you're more than likely going to show up. But in this instance, I want to know the grounds for which Rushka and Julia were not qualified to show up on the show. Julia, anybody with two eyes will know, Julia was in the Counter-Strike pro scene for years, is the most successful woman, I think, in esports in South Africa at the moment. She owned DNMK Esports, might I remind you, an org which she started from the ground up on her own, which was highly successful. And she's gone on to do amazing things into the esports space, and is still doing so. And Rushka as well is a variety gamer by all means of the word. Rushka plays anything, you know. I think most of you do know that she does like hunt streams, but Rushka has been playing COD. I say this as if you're not here, you can speak for yourself as well.
COD, I've got a lot of time in Battlefield, so I'm comfortable with FPS games. And then I got into Valorant the moment the server, popped up. I was like, cool, let me get back into Valorant, because obviously I had a Riot account forever, and I never play League. That's one thing I've never touched is League.
Don't.
But I've touched Valorant in the past, and I was like, this is dog shit. So when we got servers, I was like, cool, let's get back into it. Let's see what it's about. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And people were saying, people unqualified to have an opinion on this, I think, were saying, why are these two, and it's, I'm gonna label it this way because this is how it came across, but it was like, why are these two women up here talking about an FPS game, essentially? And I don't even know where to go, like where to start on this. I don't know, Rushka, you can give your thoughts while I collect mine.
So I'm just gonna explain like how I got invited and that, and like what went down before I was on the show and stuff. Just so that those listening have a bit of background about the situation as well. So at the Shift Gaming Experience, I need to Grant, and we were speaking about, and then I asked him about presenting on TV and that, and like what you need to do and where do you start and that. I'm just genuinely interested, but also our friend, actually, let me not name our friend. Our friend is very interested in becoming a presenter, and this friend was with me, standing with Grant. So I was kind of fishing for like internship opportunity or something for my friend without, outright saying it. And then Grant got the impression that I was fishing for myself, that I was interested in presenting one day and I want to know more. And if you could ever just go to the espresso show and just make coffee, and just stand around and learn stuff with, the hopes of getting opportunity. Because this is what people do when they network, right? This is how
Mm-hmm.
you hustle. This is an example of hustling. This is an example of networking. Okay. I feel like some people need to hear this. This is how you network. And that little conversation was obviously at the back of Grant's mind when, the Valorant Invitational came up and he needed to talk about it on the Espresso show. So he messaged me, and Nick messaged me as well from ACGL. So not only did Grant want me to do it, but so did Nick. Nick, the whole owner of ACGL, um, also handpicked me to do it. And then I was like, no, at first, because I already knew that this was going to happen. So I told Grant, listen, get someone who is extremely passionate about Valorant on the show. Grant was like, it's tomorrow. I don't know anyone qualified, more qualified than you right now, to be available at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow to speak on this topic. I cannot think of anyone right now, and I don't have time to find someone. You're perfect. You're gonna do well, and you're also more than qualified to speak on it. Even if you're playing the game just for a day, you're still a gamer. You're relevant. Which
Mm-hmm.
is enough. That should already end the conversation right there. But even then, I knew, like, I know I'm gonna get shit on Twitter for it. There's gonna be some salty person that's gonna have a problem with me speaking about Valorant. So I was adamant. I was like, this is not, like, we need to change this up a bit. And then the questions came through, and the Espresso team actually thought I was a pro Valorant player because there was like some mix up on communication. And then I was like, guys, I am not a pro player. Let's not actually disrespect the actual pro players out there right now by asking me questions about being a pro player and whatever. We need to change these questions, or you need to find a pro player in the little time you have. And they were like, okay, no. And then that's when I suggested that, why is my brain freezing about suggested right now? That
Don't
sounds so
worry.
weird. Is it
You're good.
right?
It's good. You're good.
Suggested.
You're good. Suggested.
Suggest. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's when I made the suggestion that we bring on Julia, because I know Julia's in Cape Town. Julia has been in the esports scene for a very long time, and she has been grinding Valorant, so she can speak on it from an esports perspective. So I suggested Julia, and they were like, perfect, let's get Julia on board. I messaged Julia. I knew she was going to be available because she's a full-time content creator. She's more than qualified to, do these kinds of things as well. Perfect. So then I pitched to Espresso and Grant that I speak from it from a casual perspective, a newbie, someone eager to get into it, and then Julia can speak from the esports side of things. That makes sense, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
100%.
So there is absolutely no way we should have been dealing what we dealt with on Twitter. But hey, it happened. Despite all of that, the show, the morning segment went really well. I got some really good feedback, and that's kind of all just that I'm going to focus on.
Yeah. I think as you said, networking, the important part, and what people put less emphasis on, as I feel like as content creators, and as people who end up in the public eye and in media a lot, is that there's some soft skills you need to develop as well. And it's not to say the pro players don't have these soft skills either, but I feel like people do forget that if you're going to be a content creator, you're going to be a public figure, media personality, you need to, in some senses, I don't want to say be well spoken, but you need to have that's something that streamers have as well. You need to engage an audience. Network is an important part, because you can't just be, going live, then posting clips online, putting a few tweets out and calling it a day. You need to be ready to get out there, get on the ground, interacting with people. And these are all skills that you and Julia both have both honed over the last who knows however many years, and which make you very I don't want to say attractive, but which make you very good candidates for showing up in media and representing our community from a media standpoint as well. And that's why it's just when people come out and they have these snarky comments about why were you chosen, it's, instead of doing that, think about why someone else was not chosen, why you were not chosen in the first place. Do you put yourself out there? Are you putting in more effort than just pressing go live on your stream every day, getting your few gaming clips and sticking it out there? Like, are you putting yourself in a position that makes brands, that makes people, that makes media want to work with you?
So
Yeah.
just on that note, the fact that I can't think of any pro Valorant players, and I can't begin to know everyone, right? The fact that I could not think of a pro Valorant player that's been doing this forever who would have been the perfect person in Cape Town to quickly go to the Expresso show last minute just shows that if there is someone that exists that could have done that, that should have taken that space, they're not marketing themselves well.
Yeah. They're not networking
That's
properly.
or they grossly underrepresented, or I don't know. But they're not out there. They're not putting themselves out there enough, or they're in the wrong crowd, or they're just not networking. Whatever the reason is, we don't know about them.
Yeah.
And if we should know about them, then by all means send them our way, like push them forward.
Yeah.
But instead, we're dealing with people complaining about it and throwing things in the air on Twitter, and yet we still to this day don't know anyone because they haven't given us any names to this day.
And it's, you know, networking doesn't start at this as this big thing like going to Comic-Con or Rage or whatever, you know. It's commenting on Twitter, liking posts, showing up in chat, like being active in someone's chat, you know, interacting on that level. And then these interpersonal relationships grow where we do then eventually see each other at IRL events. You get talking, you know, more. I think it's also, we know each other and we know what like our strong points are, I suppose. I know that like Rushka's a variety gamer who also speaks out on topics such as this, you know, pressing topics within the community, but who has a focus on, for example, you know, growing the community within South Africa for, like, I don't say gaming for good because it's not necessarily like for a charitable reason, but it's for the reason that gaming is a safe space for us all to exist and to connect with each other, and we want to grow that, you know. Whereas if we're looking at it from a pro player's point of view, they probably definitely almost have similar interests. It's just that when it comes to us quote unquote casual gamers versus them, I'm sure they know each other within their circles, but we don't overlap a whole lot. And that goes for many spaces within the gaming scene. You know, it goes for the fighting game scene, the FPS scene, the MMO scene, the MOBA scene, etc., etc. Like, we're all within our own little niches, but the overlap is so difficult to overcome without networking.
And the overlap is variety. So
yeah, the overlap is you seeing that, oh my gosh, I'm playing Valorant, I've been trying it out lately, let's jam a few games together, you know. It starts with something as simple as that. It's Rushka hosting a hunt event, which is a game that very few people play, more have probably heard of, but we've never tried it. Okay, cool, there's an invitational, or I've got a game key to share with you, would you like to jam with me, you know. And it's leading back to what you said, Rushka, in that we need to host more of these events for each other, so that we can grow the community and we can expose each other to these things, and so that we can say
that's how we all get to know each other as well.
Yeah, and it's also, you need to look at it from the standpoint of a win for one is a win for all, because if one person is succeeding, you know, it's a way being paved for the rest of us to follow along easier, and a way for us all to get our moment in the spotlight at the end of the day as well.
I'll go back to the Valo tourney that happened. Because I didn't know any pro players in the Valorant scene, that's when I discovered Mangalorean. That's when I discovered how good, you know, Hachi is. So these types of events, you know, help us meet new people. And yeah, I wouldn't have known about Mangalorean if it wasn't for this event. Because again, I'm coming from a casual perspective. Unless you are heavily into esports and into the Val scene, that's the only way you're going to know.
Yeah.
But if you want to reach a bigger audience, if you want to be considered for, you know, brand deals or marketing or whatever, Expresso show, you need to put yourself out there, which I feel a lot of creators aren't doing. So I don't understand why they're complaining when they're doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, because a person with 300 followers and like a basic 2 likes per tweet will come out and give this fat, lukewarm opinion. But what have you done? Do you think you deserve to be up there rather? And if so, why? What makes you what qualifies you for that? When your socials interactions are mainly griping on about other people's success and having an issue or having being on the wrong side of history essentially 80% of the time. You know, what do you expect to get from that? Is that your entire personality, or is there actually more substance to you? Do you actually have something to contribute to this community?
He doesn't.
No.
Anyway, to the Spali who's probably going to listen to this episode because he's mildly obsessed with us.
Yeah.
If you can actually put forward names of Valorant players that you know
Any
would have
players.
nailed the Expresso show, like that would have been, that's in Cape Town first of all, to have done it last minute, send it our way. Like, I've yet to see, like, through that whole disgusting thread that happened, I've yet to see any names that come forward. They were again just putting things in the air, just saying, like, you know, thumb sucking. But I didn't see any names.
Yeah.
So I still don't know, you know, who's more qualified
Yeah.
than me, myself or Julia, to be on the show. There's a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
Androva, if you were in Cape Town, obviously. If Annie was in Cape Town, obviously.
Something else I want to say
Yes,
as
loves
well.
Valorant.
Yeah. Something I want to say as well is very often people forget the market that you're talking to during events like this or during media instances like this. And you need to remember that the media show, the media house, whoever it is catering to that. So sometimes maybe, yes, a pro player point of view definitely needed, you know, but we're looking at something like the Expresso show. You know, this is something your parents, your aunts, your uncles like watch early in the morning before going to work. Your grands like sitting down watching it. They're going to share it to word of mouth with their younger audience, I suppose, or whoever they think is would be interested in it. But you need to remember who you're talking to, and sometimes a well-spoken, well-presented person is going to do better than someone who maybe doesn't know how to put a game or gaming terms in layman's terms. Yeah. Just wanted to add that little 2 cents.
In conclusion, it wasn't nepotism that got me on the show. It's because I'm more than qualified to be there.
Yeah. And I think...
And that's not taking away from the fact that there are people that are more deserving to be there. There will always be people that are more deserving to do anything.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that I was also deserving of being there.
Yeah. You know, we're not saying, like, as we sit here, we're not saying that there's no one better qualified than us to do it, because I feel like a big part of growth in being a specialist or someone highly regarded within your niche community, whatever it is acknowledging that there's always going to be someone better than you or someone more qualified than you. It's just about, sometimes it's you network better, you're in the right place at the right time, opportunity sprung at the right time, you know? And it would be, I don't know, disingenuous to ourselves to not capitalize on these moments as well. Because as much as there may be someone better suited to the job, we're still suited as well. And we also deserve our moment.
Anyway, in conclusion, don't be an asshole, network, be kind to others, and then you'll also get opportunities. Like, put your name out there.
Don't
Show
be
people what your content's about.
Be lacquer.
Yeah, like, come on. This is common sense.
For real. In other news, in more content creator-ish news here on home soil, the DSTV Content Creator Awards happened this past Saturday. I don't know what the date was, guys, like the 9th of September, I think it was. And there were a number of reputable faces there. I mean, you can imagine it's the Content Creator Awards in South Africa. So anybody who's anybody on the socials was there. And the Content Creator Awards, it was the second year it's been run this year. And DSTV have organized a bunch of categories. So anything from sports to dancing to thumb-stopping content has a moment there. And there were a number of nominations this year. 2 people from within our community, Kelly Kicks. You guys would have remembered Kelly from DNMK. She got nominated under the dance category. She unfortunately did not win, but a nomination in itself is still fantastic. And then
Well done, Kelly.
secondarily, right. Props. And I think
It's
Kelly
also birthday
was.
today. Happy birthday, Kelly.
It is happy birthday, Kelly. Shout out. And I think Kelly was also the only woman of color in the dance category that was nominated. So already there also big strides. And then secondarily, Sam Tech right, you guys would know her, was nominated under the sports category. And I think her podcast, I'll have to go double check, but I think Sam's podcast was also nominated in the Podcast of the Year award category. Sam unfortunately didn't pull through, or that sounds so bad. Sam unfortunately didn't win in any of those categories, but on that same night was the South African 40 under 40 awards, which I didn't know what is the thing. I've heard of the Forbes 40 under 40, 30 under 30, etc., etc. But South Africa has its own one, which is curated to identify the most influential and accomplished people within their professions. Sam was nominated in the sports category and actually won.
Amazing.
Right. So I don't
imagine Sam's week like attending multiple award shows.
Hey, Miss
like,
Congeniality. No, for real. All of us, like,
get on my level, bitches.
Every time we be seeing Sam or Snare or anybody else competing or doing their thing on a nationally or even globally recognizable level, it's always just it's so good to see, because guys, they really are putting a spotlight on South Africa for the rest of us, and more specifically on esports in South Africa for the rest of us. And I mean, the ValZA servers also it's been a good year for gaming in South Africa. I like to think. I mean, ValZA servers means we're getting a spotlight on the local competitive scene. Oh, actually, on ValZA, rewind. Red Bull Campus Clutch. I know we mentioned it. It's ongoing. The qualifiers have been happening and the finals are going to be happening at Comic-Con again this year, I think. So once again, we're going to have a South African team representing us internationally, and they will not be ping diffed this time around, because when the boys go to LAN, it is going to feel like LAN. It's going to feel like home. So all this time we've all been saying ping diff, we're getting ping diff. People are finally able to actually just display their actual skill level now that we've got this ping buff. But yeah, I mean, all these award shows that are happening that we don't even know about, I'm so glad they're being put within our vicinity. We're hearing about them, and I'm glad that we got people representing us there and actually winning as well. We're not just taking nominations home anymore, we're taking wins, and I love that. And then I think to wrap up tonight's episode, we'll branch out into, I want to call it the rest of the rest of Africa, but the rest of the world more like it as a whole. You haven't already heard, there's a community online called Melanin Gamers. And they sort of have a mission, I think, quite close to my heart, probably quite close to your heart as well, Rushka. Their aim is to promote diversity and inclusion within the gaming space around the world. And they do this in a number of ways. They do host events. They've got an online community that is very active. And it's gamers of color around the world that come together to try promote and show that gamers of color do exist out there and we deserve our space in this world. And recently, and by recently I mean now at the beginning of August, they announced a partnership with Logitech UK. So it's Logitech UK because they are London based. But I think this is huge. Melanin Gamers have a number of, content creators essentially. They don't operate like an org, but they do have streamers that do represent them, content creators that represent them. And we're going to see this Logitech love spread across these creators as well. And I think it's just a really nice note to end on. Knowing that there's people that are not just like us, or there are people that are like us, but not just us. out there that are aiming for the same goal, because it's something we talk about very often, but representation matters, especially in a scene that's so divided, and in a scene where people of color aren't at the forefront a lot of the time, and a lot of the time when they are, it's as a result of, they're fighting against a cause and bad energies coming their way for trying to just speak out on these rights. Rushka and I can atone for that, or yeah, we can speak out about that for however long, but yeah, so I mean, we all know as content creators how difficult it is to get brand partnerships. So I mean, a brand as large as Logitech is something fantastic to hear about, partnering with them. Logitech as well is a brand that we've seen that speaks out against homophobia, transphobia, racism, etc. very, very often. And it's very refreshing to see that they're putting their money where their mouth is as well, which is something we don't very often see. But yeah, Rushka, let's join Melon Gamers. I foresee big things for us there. Soon you're going to see Banter Bit on their page, guys. Banter Bit as a subsidiary of Melon and Gamers.
How do you join?
Watch the space.
I would totally join.
You actually, I will send you the link. We can join them. I'll send you a link. Yeah. But I think that's us. That's it for us this week. We should be back to regular episodes from. It'll be from the episode before this. We've got our lives kind of in order.
Stay boxy.
What did I forget? And on that bombshell, good night.